Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of To The Point podcast. It's Super Bowl week as we get here to Friday. Get to the weekend, we're going to have the Super Bowl Sunday night. But before the game, he's been on a few times. We've been talking football all year. Said it's only right. We finished off the football coverage, bringing Matt Wright back on. So, Ryder, thanks so much for joining me again. And I'm looking forward to talking about the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Jug, thanks for having me on. Looking forward to the big game this Sunday, and it's been a pretty crazy, wild NFL season, and it's just nice that we're able to get to a Super Bowl, because who would have known that at one point if there would have been one. So it's nice that we can unfortunately not see your friends, but get together with your for me it's gonna be me and my roommate watching the game. But I'm actually really excited. This is a Super Bowl. So some years you're really excited, other years you're Super Bowl I'm gonna watch, but I'm not really into it. This year I'm there's some good storylines, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, likewise. And like you said, I mean, you can blame the NFL for a lot of stuff. They don't handle like PR that well. I don't think they handle cases of domestic violence all that well. We've seen a lot of that over the years. But for them to get through this COVID situation and to get to the end of the year and to not have to cancel any games, I mean, they postponed a few, but to get to the finish line, I mean, they deserve a ton of credit. And, just for people's mental health, Matt, I mean, for me, I know it's having the NFL on every Sunday, Thursday night, Monday night, it's a staple of my life. So it's been great to have it on through COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. I know for me, kind of, I'm at the rink so much that I enjoy getting home and throwing an NFL game on a Sunday night and just kind of just relaxing, and it puts me in a good state of mind. So it's this NFL season has definitely been a blessing, and I'm gonna miss it, but it's not over yet, and I'm looking forward to the big game on Sunday.
Yeah, and before we get to the big game, obviously there's been some news in the 2 weeks prior to the Super Bowl. And I'll start with the Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford trade. Obviously, the Rams plunge. They get Stafford. They trade to Detroit Jared Goff, two first-round picks in 2022, 2023, and then a third-rounder in this year's draft. What did you make of the deal for both sides, and how do you think it shakes up?
Well, the first thing I thought of was the LA Rams do not like going to the draft. They haven't drafted in 7 years in the first round, and obviously that's going to continue.
Yeah.
But initially, I was like, "Well, that's a lot to be giving up." I was like, at first I really didn't like it. I was like, I can't believe you're giving up, that much
Mhm.
for a quarterback who hasn't really done anything yet. But then I got to thinking about, throw this to the NHL, where the Chicago Blackhawks, they won 3 Stanley Cups. Now they really, they have no picks. They have some big contracts, and everyone's like, oh, they're terrible. But you know what? They won 3 cups. So if
Exactly.
you think Matt Stafford's your guy, if you think he's the missing piece to get you over the top, what's worth a couple more years of being a team that makes the playoffs and then gets knocked out in the first or second round? If you think this is the guy who's going to win you the Super Bowl, then if I'm a fan, I'm like, I would trade one Super Bowl for 5 years of making the playoffs and getting knocked out in the first round.
Mhm. No, I agree completely. I think your comparison is apt. I mean, Chicago or LA, yeah, they suck right now, but they won. So they can suck and be like, well, we won. We did what we had to do. You look at Buffalo or Edmonton, like you haven't won anything. So going through all this misery and not having picks, drafting wrong, it doesn't shake up as well. But, for Stafford, I think he's been a mid-pack quarterback in his career. I think he's can elevate with the right players, but other than Megatron, he hasn't really had an elite player play alongside him. His running game has been okay at best. I mean, averaging 75 yards rushing a game. I mean, that's not a lot in the NFL. Um, but with Robert Woods, with Cooper Cup, Higbee, Akers, Henderson, I think they could I think they're a perennial. They can be a perennial Super Bowl threat now with Stafford and with the team that they have assembled.
Yeah, I agree. And I also like it for Detroit too. Let's not forget about them. I think this is a good move for Detroit. Now they have to make some good picks here with these first round, but I think it's a good turn for Detroit, where they're saying, all right, we're gonna step back, we're gonna rebuild, and we're going to try and build this thing up right. I wonder what's Adam Beers thinking of the trade. I'm sure
Yeah.
you've talked to him, but Jared Goff still is a salvageable quarterback. He's not. I wouldn't say he's a top 10 quarterback in the league, but it's not like they have the worst quarterback in the league now.
No.
The question is, for LA, it's a great quote. Is the juice worth the squeeze?
Mm-hmm.
Is this deal to get Stafford worth giving up that much? We can argue, go back and forth about it now. We're going to have to wait a year or two to find out. We're not going to know whether the deal, it's like the Shea Weber, PK Subban deal back in hockey a few years, right away initially, it looked like, Nashville won the deal. Now it's looking like maybe, Montreal won the deal. But so a lot of these deals, you can't, say right away who won, who lost. Now, if LA goes out and win the Super Bowl next year, they look like a genius. Now, if they go out and Matt Stafford gets hurt in third game, then I don't know. But that's part of what can happen. You roll the dice. But I like it. I like the trade for both teams, really.
Yeah, and I'd rather roll the dice. The Babe Ruth quote. He led the league in home run. He led the league in strikeouts, but also led the league in home runs. Eventually, you get to the plate, you're gonna hit one. I like Stafford in that sense because he's a tough son of a bitch. I mean, they could say a lot of things about him. He's taken a beating over his career, and he gets back up. I mean, there's games this year he shouldn't have played. I mean, you're playing for Detroit. You're not making the playoffs, and he still played. So I give him a ton of credit for that. But LA's got an elite defense too. I mean, with Donald, with Jalen Ramsey. I mean, if you can just put up 20, 23 points, I think a lot of nights they're going to win because when you got Aaron Donald, when you got Leonard Floyd, when you got that pass rush, you got a good chance to win any night really against anybody.
Yeah, he doesn't have to go out and put up 45 points a game now.
No.
Like his mindset changes of how he's going to approach a game. And I think this makes LA really exciting. I'm excited to watch. I know this year I'm a big Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp fan. I bet the over on them almost every week and they seem to hit. So I think their games are going to even explode even more. I think this offense becomes even more dynamic. Now, they put a lot of faith in Stafford. Hopefully he can deliver, but it makes that division even tougher now.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the other teams, you're thinking, oh man, LA's good. Now they're even better. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens next year, but I like the trade, and I like teams that go out and make a statement, whether it's the right move, whether it's the wrong move, at least they're doing something to try to make their team better.
Right. No, agreed. And what do you think for, San Francisco? They missed the playoffs this year. They had some quarterback injuries. They had, Kittle was out all year, Sherman. Do you think this puts additional pressure on them? I mean, they already got Arizona in the division. They got, obviously, Seattle, who's a perennial playoff team. Do you think this kind of lights a fire under John Lynch's ass to maybe make a bigger splash here in the offseason?
Well, there's a quarterback sitting in Houston right now who doesn't seem too happy. There's an option right there for you that you could look at. But yeah, I think it does speed up the process for some other teams, knowing that, when everyone else is good, if you don't make the moves either, you're going to fall back. Look at this, even though the Sens won last night in the NHL, look at the Sens, they're rebuilding, but all these other teams are strong in their division, and most game nights they're getting waxed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it does kind of speed up the process, especially with teams that are, only maybe a couple pieces away. Like San Francisco was at a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Very, very recently.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So they still have that mindset of, let's get back again. So I think it does kind of speed up that process of making a move quick.
Yeah, I mean, Deshaun would be great there. But, currently they got your buddy there, porn star Jimmy, at quarterback. Do you think he's the answer long term? I'm not sold on him, but he's had some injury problems. But do you like him as a starter in the NFL?
Honestly, I just haven't seen enough of him.
Yeah.
Like, even though I just haven't, like, he's always hurt. Like, it's hard to judge a guy. The best tool that any player can have is longevity,
Mm-hmm.
is being healthy. Like, you can have all the tools, but if you're not on the field, what's it worth?
Right.
What's the value of a guy who, maybe can go out there and put up 35 points for you a night, but if he's not healthy and he's not in the lineup, then how does he benefit you? I think that Stafford move honestly really scares a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo. even a little more, thinking, what's my future hold? I think it's going to be interesting to see what San Francisco does. Do you think San Francisco thinks he's the guy or not? Because what I'm hearing is I don't think they believe in him either.
No, I think if Shanahan had I think he'd like Deshaun. I think definitely he'd take a shot at Deshaun. Maybe, I mean, there was rumors they wanted Tom Brady last year in the offseason, that they were ready to give him an offer. And, Brady just decided he'd rather go to Tampa Bay, which, good on him. It's worked out. But yeah, and they were just in the Super Bowl last year. So they were ready to cut bait with Garoppolo then. So, I mean, you can't believe everything you read, but I don't think they're 100% comfortable with Jimmy. Plus they got Kittle. I mean, you got a team to win. I mean, Kittle's a stud. You want the best possible quarterback with somebody like him to give him the ball.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's San Francisco's an interesting team. As like we said, they were Super Bowl. I mean, they were in the Super Bowl right there. So what they decide to do, it's going to be an interesting offseason for a lot of teams. Very interesting offseason to see what happens. It's nice to see some big moves happening, this early. It gives us something to talk about, not just maybe talking Super Bowl. It gives us, something else to talk about, which is exciting.
Yeah, we mentioned a few times so far Deshaun Watson. Obviously, it's been a saga in Houston where apparently, the team said, we'll give you some input in who we hire as general manager. And that was fine. He gave us kind of his 2 cents, and there were 2 finalists for the job. I know one was Louis Riddick, who works for ESPN. He does Monday Night Football. I think he's one of the better football minds that I listen to. I think he's a really knowledgeable guy. He didn't get the job. They give it to a New England guy. And, he's white, and they've been hiring New England guys, seems like, for a decade now. But, and the trust seems to be gone with the organization. The organization's terrible. I mean, they don't got any picks. They don't have a pick till the 3rd round this year. I mean, they're a mess. You went 4-12. So if you're put on your Deshaun Watson hat, Matt, if you're Deshaun, are you willing to hold out to get out of Houston if you're him?
Now, I'm not a big fan of holdouts.
Right.
Now, in saying this, I myself held out in junior. So I got traded my 2nd year in junior to a team that was, in the same boat that Deshaun Watson's in now, where didn't see a future, wasn't happy there. So I decided to hold out for a month. And I realized something really quick, that teams are okay with letting you hold out. But the difference between me and Deshaun Watson is they couldn't get much for me at the time to trade. They couldn't trade me for a, Jared Goff, 2 first-round picks and a 3rd.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is I think the trade that happened with Stafford really benefits Deshaun Watson, because now the Texans know they can get a lot for him. So I think they're going to trade him. I think that the benefit is there to trade him, because you're going to get a lot for him. And you can tell he's not playing it. He played his last game as a Houston Texan.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I think there's a list of teams where he can go, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, but he definitely, in my opinion, played his last game. I think he holds out as long as possible, but I think they're going to trade him this offseason because the market's hot. And from what just happened, I think the Texans know they need picks. So I think they trade him within the next month.
Yeah, I mean, they got to trade him before the draft. I mean, so that's late April. So, if you're going to trade him, if you don't trade him before the draft, there's no point in trading him, because you're just getting, picks for the next cycle. But yeah, if I was him, I would hold out. And normally I'm with you. I don't like people that hold out. I don't like people that demand trades. Like, I talked about Victor Mete this week on the podcast. That didn't sit well with me. Like, he's done nothing to deserve to ask for a trade. Even Sam Bennett, be more consistent. Like, it's not my nature. But, for Deshaun, I mean, he's a top 5 quarterback, and he played on a 4-12. I mean, he was unreal this year, and he went 4-12. And then you have this organization that's been terrible from jump. I would hold out, but I think hopefully it can get resolved before, mini camps and stuff like that. Because I don't want his reputation to take a hit, because you and me both know it will with the media. Even if he's in the right, he'll take some bullets on this decision.
Yeah, even if you're completely right, 100% right, no one likes the holdout. It's only going to hurt your reputation. It doesn't make it better.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully they trade him before the draft, get settled in a new spot. There's a list of teams that I think would be good. I mean, there's a lot of teams that benefit from having Deshaun Watson, but I think there's a few teams that could really, really push to have him next year on their roster. And maybe I'm going to throw it to you. If there's one team for you, Judd, where you'd see him going, who are you looking at?
Yeah, I had San Fran up real high. San Fran would probably be number one for me, just because I think they can give away picks and not have to strip a lot from their roster. And Nick Bosa is going to come back healthy. I mean, his rookie year, he was a stud. I mean, him and his brother are both great pass rushers. You got Fred Warner there in the middle, who I really like. They got Kittle. Ayuk is a really interesting player. He's really athletic. I think you get weapons there. But if they wanted to trade in the AFC, which I wouldn't recommend, I think the best team to trade with in the AFC is for Deshaun, because he has a no trade, is Miami. They could flip Tua, and then you could get your pick back, which was Houston's that Miami has right now, the 3rd overall pick, and you could get more after that. But what about you?
I put together a list of teams because there's a lot that could have them. Now, with the no trade and with some teams not having the picks, I'm just going to go kind of through a list of teams. As a Patriots fan, I would love to see them in a Patriots jersey. Now, is that going to happen? Probably not. The Patriots are known for really not making any big moves. I just can't. I can't see them doing it. I'd love for it to happen, but I don't see it. I don't see it in the Patriots. For me, a team I'd love to see them on, which I think would really benefit, is the Colts.
Oh, yeah.
I think the Colts have a great D. I think they play the right way. They need a quarterback now. I think if a Deshaun Watson came into the Colts, it would be game-changing for them. That's kind of the team I'm eyeing. Now, I don't know about their pick situation. I don't know where they stand, and I don't know how full their cupboards are, but the Colts would be a team. I looked at the Broncos. I don't see them doing it, but they could use them. The Washington football team is another. I don't know what their quarterback situation is moving into next year, but it'd be a team. Who knows about the Eagles, where they stand with their tire fire, but they're who knows if you'd want to even go into that mess.
Yeah. Good luck, Deshaun.
Yeah. The 49ers were there, Miami, and then two other teams that I found kind of interesting were the Falcons and the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those are two teams right there who, Matt Ryan, he's getting up there. I don't know what they're going to do in that situation. Now, the Bears is a team kind of like the Colts. The two that I highlighted were the Colts and the Bears, which I think would benefit most for having them.
Yeah, I agree with the Colts. I don't know if they trade in division, because I wouldn't want to do that, because you got to play them.
That's the thing, right? That's the thing.
But
I don't think they trade in division.
I mean, with what they have, they got Jonathan Taylor is looking like a stud running back. Darius Leonard on defense, like you said, DeForest Buckner. I think if you went to the Colts, they would be the Super Bowl favorite. They'd be right there with Kansas City, I think, for me. Like they'd be close, because the Colts are really close right now. They lost the Bills, but with a better quarterback than Phillip Rivers, they could have been in the AFC Championship game this year. So, I like the Colts a lot. The Washington football team's intriguing because they don't have a quarterback right now. It's said that Houston wants really good defensive players in the trade, but Washington's got an abundance of them, so that would work. I think they have like the 18th or 19th pick, so it's a first rounder. You get a first rounder. You don't have any right now, and add on after that. But yeah, it's tough because Deshaun is not going to get traded somewhere where the cupboard's bare, because what's the point? That's what he's got in Houston. So it's a difficult trade to pull off.
it's a trade that really makes or breaks a franchise, or could make or break a GM.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it's one that if it's a GM and it hits, you basically just got yourself a job for life.
Yeah.
Now, if it's one where you trade them and you blow it, you might lose your job and you may never get another one.
Yeah.
So it's hopefully it happens. I mean, I'm keeping an eye on it, but like you said, I don't want this to fester into next year.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see this get resolved because it's only going to get worse for everyone involved. Let's just get this over with. Let's get a clean break. He doesn't want to be there. Seems like most of their players don't want to be there, but I mean, there's another guy, JJ Watt. I think there's been, the last speculation that he doesn't even want to be there now.
Yeah.
So what do you think happens there?
I think he probably moves on. I think it's for the best. I think the organization probably wants him to move on too. I mean, he's been a great player for them, obviously 2-time defensive player of the year, and he's a battling guy. I have a lot of respect for him, but I think maybe he goes back to Green Bay. That's where he's from, the Wisconsin area. They could use him on defense because their defense hasn't been great in the past couple of years. He's not what he used to be, but I still think he can add a veteran presence to a defense there. But I wouldn't, if I was him, I would not want to stay in Houston. I mean, you're going to lose for a period of time now, and he's only got a couple years left in his career, so you might as well try to go to a contender and win that Super Bowl.
And in saying this, how hot the market is right now, like if you can get a first round pick for JJ Watt, trade him right now.
Oh yeah,
like, trade him yesterday if you can get a first round for him. Like they need to restock these cupboards, and they're going to be bad. So if you're going to be bad, why don't you just be really bad? Trade your better players, get some more picks. The next 2 drafts, get some first rounders with these high end guys you have. Trade them, be bad for a couple of years, and then maybe you're going to take some heat from the media. You're going to take some heat from your fan base, but maybe in 3 or 4 years, you're back in a playoff hunt compared to right now where it's just, if you hold on and let these guys sit, I mean, they could be out for 8-9 years with nothing going on right for them.
Yeah, and the other thing, Matt, we both know, it's different. The NFL draft, you draft a guy at 29, he's playing the next year.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like hockey. That guy is not sniffing the league for 3 years, if not maybe more. Montez Sweat for the Washington football team was drafted 29th overall. He's pretty damn good. Like Lamar was drafted 32nd. He's looked pretty good in his career so far. He's won an MVP. So you can find really good players, late first, early second. We see it every year. So I think getting hung up on where the team is when it comes to the draft pick can sometimes make management look stupid. Like you said, if you can get a first for JJ Watt and it's Green Bay and it's the 29th pick or whatever it is, do it. Who cares? You don't have one right now. You can flip it. You can move up. You can do things.
Yeah, 100%. I think at the end of the day, this situation needs to be handled before the draft.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever you're going to do with your star guys, get it done now because it's only going to bring more bad press to you. And your fans are just confused right now. So just give them something to either be happy or pissed off, but at least give them something to think about.
Yeah. What about the Jets? I mean, that's a rumored team that he wants to go to. I don't love it for him. I don't think they're really that close to being a great team, but what do you make of their prospects for Deshaun?
I don't like it either. Like I said, they're not on my list that I put, but there's one thing about New York. It's New York.
Mm-hmm.
One thing about New York is you can make, it's like Toronto in the NHL.
Right.
If you can go and if you can win in Toronto, you're a legend. You're going to make so much money on endorsements if you can bring a winning team. So if he goes there and he plays well and turns them into a winning franchise, he's going to make way more money than anywhere else just on endorsements alone.
Yeah.
So there's something that some guys like that opportunity of taking, a team in a big market that aren't very good right now and turning it around. But I don't like it myself. I don't see them there. I don't think the Jets are close at all. I just don't like it. End of story. But hey, if he wants to go there, by all means, buddy, have at it.
I mean, all the Jets have in the past 30 years is Joe Namath, doing this. That's it. The only thing they got is Rex and dressing up with his brother and Mark Sanchez running into a guy's ass. I mean, that's it. That's all they got in their resume. But if he went there and turned it around, I mean, he would be a living legend. I mean, he would. They'd never forget his name in New York. I mean, that would just be incredible.
Exactly. And the thing is, if you go to the Patriots, you're always going to be compared to Tom Brady. All right. If you go to, Green Bay, like Aaron
Right.
Rodgers is still compared to Brett Favre
Like
now, even though
Derek
it's,
Jeter with Didi Gregorius when he took over for him.
exactly right. So if you go to a spot where they, he could go and be the guy, and if he could turn it around, he becomes a legend.
Mm-hmm.
Where, even if he got into the playoffs, he becomes a legend.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's intriguing, but I think there's other teams that would benefit having him more, where he could actually have a chance to win a Super Bowl next year.
Yeah, agreed. I think, we mentioned the Colts, we mentioned San Fran. I think either of those teams get him, they're a Super Bowl threat, and they're right up there with anybody at winning it. But yeah, we'll keep monitor that. Hope we both said, hopefully it doesn't go on all off season, because I don't want to see that for him, because I'm a fan of him. I like watching him play. So moving on to the big game. We got intriguing matchup of the new kid on the block, so to speak, and Patrick Mahomes with the Kansas City Chiefs winning the Super Bowl last year. They return after Mahomes only lost one start this year. He's only lost one start in the past calendar year. Past year and a half, to Derek Carr of all quarterbacks. So that's a funny little stat against, old man River and Tom Brady in his new team, the Buccaneers. First season, they get to the Super Bowl, his 10th appearance, just incredible. 10 Super Bowls in 19 seasons as a starter. That'll never happen again. But for you, biggest key for the Bucs to win this game, what is it?
The biggest key for the Bucs to win this game is you cannot make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot turn the ball over. You cannot, have bad coverage down. You can't get beat downfield with someone making an easy fake and then getting an 80-yard touchdown. You have to play, I think, the same way you played 2 weeks ago. I think for them, they have to play. I was talking to my friend the other day, and he said for the Bucs to win, they have to play an A game.
Mm-hmm.
The Kansas City Chiefs can play a B game and still win, but the Bucs have to have their best game of the season, and they can't make mistakes. I think they have to slow the game down too. I think they have to try to run the ball. If they can do it, we'll see, but I think they have to try and run. Brady's going to have a game. He's going to have to make some plays, and one of their receivers is going to have to break free for a big touchdown. I think there's going to have to be a play where Mike Evans or Godwin or Antonio Brown or someone busts free for a 70, 80-yard touchdown, which, one of them could easily do it. I think that has to happen.
Yeah, maybe it's little Scotty Miller. Maybe it's he's quick.
Maybe he
but
is.
Yeah, I agree with most of what you said. I also, Brady, the biggest thing, Bucs have made it to the Super Bowl. Brady hasn't played that well in the playoffs. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, last week he had a great first half. I thought he was vintage Brady. Second half, he was a deer in headlights. I mean, 3 picks, all of them were really bad. They were all on him. Especially that third one, he just threw it up in the air basically. But I trust Brady to play well in the Super Bowl. But yeah, I think for the Bucs, the Chiefs, the biggest story for me is their offensive line. I mean, they got both tackles are out in Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher. That's a huge blow for them. They got one of the guys who's covering is Mike Remmers. He was lined up against Von Miller in the Carolina-Denver Super Bowl.
Yep.
And Von, 2.5 sacks, won the MVP.
We saw how that turned out.
Yeah, didn't turn out well for Remmers. So I think for them, sacking Mahomes, getting pressure on him, making it uncomfortable. Aaron Rodgers really wasn't settled the whole day against the Bucs 2 weeks ago. He got sacked 5 times. I mean, that's a huge key to the game for me. And I agree with your big play. That can happen against this Chiefs defense because they like to cheat a little bit. Tyrann Mathieu is always fun to watch on the other side, but I think it could be Scotty Miller. It could be AB, depending on how healthy he is. But another thing for the Bucs, Matt, is they need to catch the effing ball.
Oh,
Chris Godwin, Evans, Fournette. I mean, they're getting little dump passes and he's dropping it. They can't drop 5-6 balls against Kansas City because they're going to lose.
There were a few plays a couple weeks ago where I've seen snakes have better hands than Leonard Fournette.
Yeah.
There were Oh, it was so frustrating to watch because I had Brady on the over passing yards as a
Mhm.
gambler, and I was losing my mind. Like these, you can't miss those plays. You need those 5 yard receptions.
Yeah.
2nd and 5. You need 2nd and 6, not 2nd and 10. It just completely changes the your playbook when you have so many more options when 2nd and 5 compared to 2nd and 10. And they need to make those catches. It was embarrassing, really, that they were dropping that many, like all of them. Godwin had 2 easy drops. Like
Oh,
it just
yeah.
can't happen against Kansas City because those drops lead to 3 and outs, and you cannot have too many 3 and outs. Like I think if you can't 3 and out against Kansas City, you just can't. So whether it's go down the field and kick a field goal, like there's maybe 1 or 2 times you can go 3 and out all game, but I think that's it, really.
Yeah. I don't think more than 2 times because you're gonna get caught because eventually your defense can make a stop, but eventually Mahomes is gonna do something that you didn't know a human being could do, and then he'll just throw the
Mhm.
ball on one leg, and it'll something will break. But yeah, I mean Godwin I think's dropped 6 passes in the playoffs. I mean he made some tough catches last week. That deep ball, that was a great catch. And then he gets a little shallow cross and it's drops it. I'm like, what the hell? But yeah, this is a closer game than I think people are, it's a 3 point. Actually got bet down. It was at 3.5 now. I think it's the line's 3. So, it's a pick 'em. But for Kansas City, do they need to play a certain way for you, or all systems go, or kind of where do you see them? What's the key for them to win?
Well, I think you nailed it on the head earlier. Their offensive line. I
Hmm.
think that is the key. Can they? I mean, if they give Mahomes any time at all, he's making plays. Um, I mean, in my opinion, they have one of the best, tight ends in the game, if not the best tight end in the game.
It's hard to argue he's not the
It
best.
it's hard to argue the way he's played this year. I mean, they're going to try and get him the ball. He could make some big plays. I think for Kansas City, it's you know stay the course, which is weird to say in a Super Bowl, but I think just don't overthink it. Even though you're matched up against Brady, who's been there so many times, play the way you know how to play. You can say that to little kids. Go out there and if
Just
you
have fun.
if yeah, if you're a shooter, shoot the puck. If you're a passer, pass. Same thing to you guys. Do what you've done for the last 2 years.
Mhm.
But I think there's now it comes down to Mahomes and Brady. I know we're going to get into it on how big this game is for both of them. But I'm a big Brady fan. You've seen downstairs in the basement. I have a big picture of Brady. But in saying that, I think the Kansas City Chiefs are the best team I've watched all year. I think they are the better team. Now, the game is a pick 'em. I mean, it's
Mhm.
hard to go against Brady, but if Kansas City plays the way they know how to play, they win the ball game.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we saw them play earlier in the year, and what Bucks can't do is let Tyreek Hill get 200 yards in a quarter. I mean, that goes without
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Try not to do that. But yeah, I think Kelsey's the bigger X factor for me rather than Tyreek, just because he can do so many things. I mean, you talk about drops, he doesn't drop any. He catches it and he gets the first. It seems like every time he catches the ball, it's a first down. Like he's just a. And this is crazy, man. I looked this up this week. Him and Gronk are the same age. They're 32. Don't they look like different players?
Man, so I'm 27, just turned 27 last week, and I feel older than Tyreek Hill. I'm like,
Yeah,
that guy is spry out there.
yeah,
And it is crazy to think that him and Gronk are the same age. I never knew that, but that's intriguing for sure.
yeah. But Mahomes, it's been 2 weeks, so maybe his foot's better. But for him, slide. Don't take the unnecessary hits because it's a
Yeah.
long game with that pass rush. Um, but yeah, I agree with you for the most. Just stay the course. Play mistake-free football. Mahomes didn't play great in the Super Bowl last year. Obviously, it was his first one. I think he battled some nerves. But for him, maybe they throw a curveball to us, Matt, and they actually run the ball a ton. That would shock everybody. I mean, they don't normally, but maybe it's not the conventional way. Maybe they do some end arounds with Tyreek Hill. We saw Miko Hardman in the AFC Championship game, he took one for 54 yards. So
Mhm.
some big splash plays like that, I'm sure Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid's got something in their bag of tricks, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. I think there's going to be, I know we're talking about it, some defensive X factors for the game. And I think this game could come, I think it's not going to come down to the offense. I think it's going to come down to the defenses of both teams.
Yeah.
Because it's the old saying, offense is great, defense wins championships. And I think we're going to get a great idea of that, a great vision of that this Sunday, that which defense is going to play better.
Yeah. So you mentioned it, defensive X factors. Who's your X factor for? We'll start with Tampa Bay. We'll both give ours, and then we'll compare and contrast.
So for Tampa Bay, I don't really have one player. I have the whole defensive line.
Right.
That is my X factor, is that line as a unit. Can they get to Mahomes? That if they can get to Mahomes, I mean, that's the X factor for me in the game. Like,
Yeah,
can they?
absolutely.
And his foot is not 100%.
No,
So
it's not going to be.
I don't think he's going to be running as much as he normally does. Now, can you get to him? Can you sack him early? Or at least force him to run, because his foot isn't at 100%. So I know he's amazing. He's the best quarterback out of the pocket, I think, in the league, in my opinion. But at least still force that pressure. Can you get to him? On Kansas City, for me, it's the secondary. It's once again not a single player, but the secondary, your safeties and your cornerbacks. They are key to this game. I think if the safeties and the cornerbacks can do a good job on the wide receivers of Tampa Bay, then this could be a blowout if they shut down those guys. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a close game. But to me, the safeties and the safeties and the cornerbacks are massive for Kansas City.
Yeah, no, all good points. I think, with that Tampa Bay defensive line, like you said, Vita Vea coming back is a huge add. I mean, he's just a massive human being. I think I looked this week, he weighs like 350 pounds or something. Like, he's a huge human in the middle going up against the center. They got, obviously Ndamukong Suh, he's had a career, not always the most legal guy, but he does what he does. For me, I said for Tampa Bay, I said Shaq Barrett, and obviously he's going to be coming around the edge. He played in that Denver Super Bowl too, so he's won a Super Bowl playing alongside Vaughn. But with no Eric Fisher, with no Mitchell Schwartz, he's got the advantage before the game starts. I mean, I think if he can get two, I think he could have a huge game if the Bucs win, and or Jason Pierre-Paul on the other side's just as important. I mean, he's a beast too.
So those are two guys that I have my eye on for some prop bets for Sunday. Those are some guys that I think can make a huge difference. And I looked at their odds are like, 60 to 65 to 1, 75 to 1 on those two guys. And I think I might throw a little jingle down on both of them.
Is that to win the MVP?
That's to win the MVP, yeah.
I would.
And at 65 to 1, I mean, that's to me, that's worth putting the money down on one of them, because as you said, I mean, Kansas City's, they're missing some big pieces up front. So if those guys can get there, get a couple sacks, a couple quick sacks, that could be the difference in the game early.
Yeah, we saw against Green Bay, the first pass play they ran, they sacked Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that set the tone for the whole game, because Tampa had already scored, they got a 3-and-out, then they continued to get points, and it was Green Bay was behind from there. And then I just said for Kansas City, I said the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu. I mean, I think he's playing the best. I think he's had his best year of his career, and he's been a really good player for a long time. But he's all over the field. I mean, he reads better than almost anybody I've seen. When he gets an interception, it doesn't even look like he should get it, but he's overthinking the quarterback, and he's there in seconds. He can lay a hit if you need him to. He can go. I think he can cover a Godwin in the slot. I think that's an intriguing matchup to watch as the game gets closer. But he's another guy I wouldn't be a bad idea to sprinkle some MVP money on. I think, because if he gets a pick, maybe two, and forces a fumble or something, that it moves him up, the category for MVP.
Absolutely. And there's some players that get nicknames that they don't really deserve. That guy's nickname as the Honey Badger is perfect for him because he's an effing honey badger out there.
Yeah.
Like, he's all over the place. Like we said, like, he's involved in every game. When you watch a game, you know he plays, right? And they miss him when he's not there.
Oh, yeah.
So he could easily have a big game. Now, could a guy like Mike Evans hit him with a double move?
Mm-hmm.
You know, could that happen? That could be, like I said, that could be a difference maker, and that could lead to maybe Mike Evans getting an MVP of the game. Right. So there's another guy I have my eye on. There's a lot of guys this year where I'm eyeing. Like, normally there's, you know, one or two. I hit it pretty big a couple of years ago on Edelman on the MVP at 40-1. Mm-hmm. That was nice, but there's a few guys I'm looking at where there's a lot of difference makers on both teams. Now, it's going to be interesting to see. I'm excited.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a lot of different ways this game can break, and I think, you know, we mentioned only the defensive guys, but I just think on offense, it's so hard to win an MVP. I mean, we saw Edelman, and that was really because, you know, he had a huge game. He made that catch. You know, he's made some big catches, but, you know, Brady really didn't play well against the Rams. Like, he didn't deserve to win the MVP. It was going to either be him or probably Hightower. I think, you know, on defense, he had a big game, but it's hard for a receiver to win the award, normally anyway.
Yeah, for sure. And, like, I know throwing it to the Brady Mahomes matchup, I mean, that's, for the fans, that's pretty intriguing, don't you think?
Oh, for sure. You know, you got Mahomes, you know, won Super Bowl. He's already won an MVP, 50 touchdown passes, you know, against Brady, who's done it all. Like we said, he's 43, still playing at a, you know, decently high level. He's got the opportunity to win his 7th ring this weekend. You know, Tony Romo said something interesting, that it was the biggest game of Mahomes' career, because if he loses, he'll never be able to pass Brady. Do you agree with Romo?
So I saw that, and I actually had that at my notes to touch on, and it's very, it could be. I love Patrick Mahomes, and I think he is the most exciting quarterback I've ever watched. But I think Brady's the best quarterback I've ever watched.
Right.
So seven's a lot, man. Well, just think about the difference. If he wins, he's got 2, Brady has 6, right? That's only 4 more. I know it's 4 Super Bowls, but it's only 4.
Right.
Now, if Brady gets 7 and you have 1, 6 Super Bowls. That's still basically having to go to the Super Bowl. Like, you have to do what Brady did, basically. Right. You have to have the same career as Brady to catch him, if that's the case. I kind of do agree with Romo in this sense that he has to win. He doesn't have to win the game to go down as a great quarterback.
No, he's a Hall of Famer already.
He's a Hall of Famer already, which is crazy to say.
Yeah.
But to get to where Brady is on the number of rings, I think it's a must win.
Yeah, I think it's pretty close to a must win. You know, I think it's kind of cart before the horse here for Romo to say. I mean, it's going to be if he wins, it's his 2nd ring. Who says he wins another one? I mean, you know, Brady went 8 years without winning one, and he's playing until he's 43 here. I don't know if Mahomes is going to be playing until he's 43. Not a lot of guys have that crazy, you know, mental fortitude to keep playing. You know, I think, where do you stand on? Now, this is kind of an interesting topic, on number of times going to the Super Bowl compared to winning. So, you know, for people in the NBA world, they'd say, well, you know, LeBron's been to 10 times. You know, Michael went to 6, but he won all 6. What's more important to you, the longevity, number of times you get there, or the amount of times you win it?
Great question, Jug. Just one last thing on the Romo thing.
Yeah.
You got to remember who's calling the game
Romo.
This weekend. You got to remember what company has the game.
CBS.
Right? CBS is trying to pump this game up.
Yeah.
I guarantee if Fox is covering the game, Romo doesn't say that comment.
No, he doesn't do the interview.
He doesn't do the interview, but he's not pumping the game up. But the fact that CBS is covering it, that's why he's trying to get as many eyes, as many viewers as possible.
Yeah.
Now, going to your question, oh man, I like winners.
Yeah.
I think Michael Jordan's the best basketball player to ever play the game. In the sense of the NFL, I think Brady is the GOAT with the amount he's won. I mean, he it's not like he has 3.
Right.
All right. He's got 6. So he's winning more than he's losing.
Right.
Now, do I think someone who has 3. Someone's been to 3 and they've won 3, haven't there?
There's Joe. He's been to
There's
4,
Joe.
won 4.
Okay, Joe is who I'm thinking. So that's impressive.
Elway's lost a couple. He won 2, but like
What about Bradshaw?
Bradshaw, that's who it is.
Bradshaw has 3, right?
Yeah.
3 or 4, and he's never lost, I don't think.
Yeah.
So now if you're saying if you're comparing, say Brady only had 3, I think you can really compare him to Joe Montana or Bradshaw. But the fact he has 6, I mean, he's won more than he's lost. So you got to give the guy credit.
Right.
Like he's the GOAT. But there does say something about getting there and winning. Winning is the ultimate in sports. It's the ultimate thing. At the end of the day, you're a winner. You lose the Super Bowl, you lost.
Yeah.
You got to the Super Bowl, that's great, but no one goes around saying I made it to the Super Bowl. Yeah. You go around saying I won the Super Bowl. Hey, I'm a Stanley Cup finalist.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Who'd you lose to?
Yeah.
Right? Like winning means something, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's such a tough one because nobody thinks Messier is better than Gretz. I mean, anybody who watches hockey knows Gretz is better than Messi, but he's got six cups, so good on him. It's such this big thing. But yeah, Brady being 6-3 is definitely big because I listen to Dan Patrick sometimes. I think he's got good philosophy and kind of metric for this. He's kind of like, well, Joe Montana's 4-0, which is obviously impressive. But what did he do the other years he was in the league? Like he didn't get to the Super Bowl. Brady is getting there, 10 out of 19 times. So you got to give him credit for that. But yeah, I think for him, the biggest thing is that he's won more than he's lost. I don't think losing this weekend hurts his legacy whatsoever. Maybe 6-4. You're still 2 Super Bowls above 500. And, I still think LeBron's 4-6. He could easily get back to another one. I don't think it kills his legacy that, he's lost, a few here.
Yeah. And like you said, it's not like Brady's got to the Super Bowl with, it's not like he's rode the coattails of some of his teammates to get there. Like there's been some years where Brady's brought a really ragtag bunch to the Super Bowl. So you got it. Like, that's so impressive. Like, especially in football, to bring an average team to the Super Bowl. And, yes, you're going to lose your fair share. Unfortunately, Joe Montana, if he would have got to more Super Bowls, probably might have lost one, So the fact he's at his 10th Super Bowl jug is it's crazy. And I think that people are actually more intrigued for this one that he's not wearing a Patriots jersey. They're not like, oh, just another Super Bowl with Brady in the, I'm not watching. Your average fan isn't going to be like, oh, well, just, Brady's back again with the Patriots, another Super Bowl, let's start drinking, what time's the bar open?
Right.
I think it's different. I think people are more intrigued this year that he's there with a new team.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Patriots fatigue was wearing on people. That's just fandom. They get tired of seeing an organization succeed when yours is, down in the dumps. Like if you're a Jets fan, you can't root for New England. I mean, come on. You've been so inept for forever. I mean, you can't root for Bill and Tom to keep succeeding. But yeah, Mahomes, it is a big game, but I think like we said, the odds of him ever passing Brady in Super Bowls, let alone Super Bowl appearances, is slim to none. I mean, 10, you need some breaks. You need to have a long career. You need to stay healthy. I mean, Tom, the biggest thing for him is he stayed healthy. Other than 2008, he's gotten, lucky. And he's worked for it, but you also got to have a lot of luck to stay healthy in the NFL. And he's gotten the breaks that way too.
For sure. And, the other thing too, and, this is kind of a hot take, but, when you get to the Super Bowl, in any sport, so many players put so much pressure on themselves. It's natural to do that, but just enjoy the moment. Like, you never know when you're going to get back to another one. Like for some of these guys, maybe not Mahomes, maybe not Brady, but some of these guys just go out there, play your game, do what got you there, and go out and have fun. Like you're in the Super Bowl, you have, 500 million people watching you. Enjoy the game.
Yeah.
Like, don't put too much. Yes, obviously there's a ton of pressure, but try just to think about it as another game, because when you put that much pressure on yourself as an athlete, I know it hurts you. It doesn't as Mahomes, don't go out there and say, I got to beat Brady. I got to beat Tom Brady today. Just go out there and play the way you played all year. Chances are you do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think, I think the World Junior players kind of get caught up in that too, where they're like, okay, we have to win this gold medal for Canada or we're going to get ripped online. Like, you're playing for your country. Like, it's a pretty cool opportunity, and you should feel proud and just, like you said, enjoy the moment. And for Mahomes and Brady wants to keep playing, but who knows? This could very well be this should be his last Super Bowl. I mean, we're looking at his age, we're looking at everything. He could be back, but you're playing in a home Super Bowl, pandemic year. You guys made it. The other 30 teams couldn't do what you did, and just kind of, revel in that a little bit as much as you can.
For sure. Now one thing about Brady, and this
Mm-hmm.
is something I'm eyeing more than anything else in this Super Bowl, is I don't know if you've seen the prop bet on Brady's rushing yards or not. What do you think Brady's rushing yards are for the Super Bowl?
5.5.
0.5. He's
Wow.
got to rush for 1 yard.
Oh,
The
he'll do that.
odds makers are saying he won't.
He will
So
for
I'm
sure.
throwing all my money on
Oh yeah.
on Brady to
Hammer
rush
that.
for 1
Quarterback
yard.
sneak. Quarterback sneak there.
All I need, one quarterback sneak. So I don't know if there's anyone listening here who's in gambling, but eye that Brady prop bet of 1 yard, because that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm thinking you could have 3 or 4 quarterbacks. That's what I'm saying. It was going to be like higher. Yeah. Wow. 0.5.
Yeah, 0.5. When I saw that, 0.5. I couldn't believe it. That's one I got my eye on. Now, is there anything, Jug, that you kind of, what do you like halftime show? Like, did you watch the halftime show, or is there any prop bets you're eyeing, or are you just focused on the game?
Yeah, normally I throw the halftime on mute, to be honest. Well, yeah, the weekend's not exactly my cup of tea.
That's not your bag, eh, Jug?
It's not my bag. No, maybe like maybe get Fleetwood Mac to come back. I would be all in on that if they could come out of retirement and do that. But yeah, maybe one I get intrigued by every year is the national anthem, the length of it. I think you can bet on that, right?
Yeah, you can bet on the length.
Eric Church doing the anthem.
Eric Church. So that's going to be interesting.
I'd go the under. I think he's quick. He'll be quick.
You're going the under? All right. Well, maybe I'll listen to you and throw something on the under. But there's a few guys that, I have my eye on for just on the betting side for MVP.
Mm-hmm.
And I got my eye on Kelsey at 11-1 and Tyreek Hill at 11-1. They're both 11-1. I think either one of them maybe. Like you mentioned, the defensive players on Tampa Bay. I'm going to really take a look the next day or two on those guys. There's, like you said, those 2 players on the edge.
Yeah.
At 65-1. I might throw a little money on that.
Yeah, hammer that.
On the betting side, if you're looking to make any money, I don't think you bet Mahomes or Brady. The odds they're like 1.8, 2.5. I think you're better off betting less money and throwing it on a wild card. And this is crazy to say, but Ndamukong Suh at 125-1 and Rob Gronkowski at 135-1 right now. The Gronk at 135-1, I have my eye on. And another player is Le'Veon Bell at 126-1.
Wow.
And the reason I say that is because you can get 2 or 3 easy 1 to 2 yard touchdowns, and people look and say, whoa, 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl, where you might not have done anything for the whole drive, and then you get the ball handed off to you and you run her in for 2 yard touchdown.
Good point. Yeah.
So those are kind of look at White for
New England. Yeah.
New England a couple years ago. He had 3 touchdowns Super Bowl. He had some good rushes, but a couple of those touchdowns were 1 yard rushes. So there's a lot of value being made that, there's a lot of players this year that I have my eye on. So it's going to be tough. But the one bet I'm really looking at is the Brady over 0.5. And if you're watching the game, if you see Brady take off for 1, there's going to be one happy guy. That's me.
Do you know what's the over under on Gronk catches?
I think it's 4.5. Oof. I think it's too many.
That's too many. I'm surprised. They don't want people to bet on that. Oof.
No, I think it's too many. I'll have to look. The last time I looked was last night. I think it was at 4.5.
I was going to think it was going to be like 2 because that's what he's been averaging lately. I was going to say take the over, but yeah.
Now, when it comes to betting in Super Bowls, I am an overs guy. I like seeing stuff happening, so I only bet overs. Now, for me, I think there's two easy overs. I think it's Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. They
Right.
have them both at 5.5 right now, which is mind blowing to me. I think you take that all day long.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Especially
but
Kelsey. He'll have 10 plus
exactly.
if
But
they
I
win.
mean, it's exciting to like I said, we're here. We're at the Super Bowl. I'm gonna be disappointed on Monday when it's over and there's no
Yeah.
football. But thank God we got here. It's exciting. I hope everyone enjoys the game. Don't be an idiot. Don't go to a Super Bowl party with 30 people.
Mhm.
Keep it quiet. Stay at home with your steady 10, whatever it is. But just, enjoy the game. And, this is a quarterback matchup you may never see for the next, 20, 50, 100 years.
Yeah.
Enjoy this matchup.
I agree completely. And, just like Matt said, do your bets at home, make some food, and then just couch it and enjoy
Yeah.
it. It doesn't have to be, we'll be back next year. You can go to a bar, you can go do your stuff next year. Let's just sit down, watch the game, watch the weekend. If you're into the weekend, you can hear him sing and
Who
Eric.
do you have, Jug? Who do you have winning? Who's your team? I know I'm dreading it too.
It's a
It's a
tough
pick 'em.
pick. I'm going with the Bucks. I'm gonna go Bucks 31-28, and I'm gonna pick Shaq Barrett to win the MVP. So 65-1. I'm hammering it. I don't bet, but I'm hammering it. But
Awesome.
yeah, the offensive line scares me, and I think with those edge rushers, they're gonna get to Mahomes. They might create a forced fumble in there, and I think Barrett will have a big game and he'll win the MVP. But yeah, I got the Bucks narrowly beating them.
As a Brady fan, I have to take the Bucks, and I think Kansas City's better. Yes. Do I think that Bucks can find a way to win? Yes. Now, if I'll throw a little jingle on Barrett if it hits. I owe you. Well, next time you're in Fredericton, I'll buy you a couple beers. How about that?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, buddy. I'm looking forward to the game, and I'm sure there'll be a few texts flying back and forth on Sunday night.
Absolutely. We'll be in touch. But yeah, you've been gracious with your time during the NFL season. So Matt, I really appreciate it. And we'll talk some hockey down the road, but thank you for your time always.
Thanks for having me on, Jug. I love being on talking some football. It's nice when I'm not get out of the rink and, not just talk hockey. It's nice to, mix it up, talk some football, and looking forward to the Super Bowl, buddy. Thanks again.
Awesome. Well, everybody, like Matt said, stay home, just cook some food, watch the game, but enjoy the Super Bowl and stay safe, everybody. And we'll talk soon.